Hello and welcome to Cockatoos with Attitude. And we have
Hello, everybody.
Cecil over here with his attitude. Just you can tell by the wet spot on the ground. Decided he was going to take the water bowl and take a bath in it. So
Yeah, actually, we won't have a complete live stream today. We will have a pool party with Cecil.
there you go. Who's in the pool today? We have Mander. Hello, Mander. And KK. KK Bird. And Jasmine had a death wish this morning. She decided to go to beak with KK hanging down in front of his face. And he was looking up at her, but not being aggressive. So he lets her go that far, but he'll let her even sit down on me, but as long as there's enough distance between him and me now. He's becoming desensitized. That's what we're going to talk about. Desensitized to the presence of Jasmine, at least. Mander, you're trying to get the same spot twice. I mean, get in the spotlight again. And Sugar back there sleeping, although she wasn't sleeping when I took her out of her cage. She was doing gymnastics trying to get me to take her out. You you got evil on your mind there, kid. I can tell. And Lucy, where's Lucy? Where the heck did Snowball go? I mean, the missing. Oh, there he is. There's the missing Snowball.
Snowball. Such a cutie pie.
Now, yesterday they were having a shout out for an hour or so with watching that Australian Jim Hook with Jim and the Burbs. You'd think it was the end of the world. Solas was doing gymnastics in his cage. Boo. Boo. Hi, Cecil. Yeah, they just hadn't ever put that on for them before, and they were just getting into it. Maybe it's time to feed us. I'm feeding you a bunch of seed, guys. I'm just not doing it.
Oh, there's our cutie Cecil pie.
Hi, Cecil.
Yeah.
Now
Do you think he's ready with his pool party?
yeah, they can eat more seed in the wild because they're flying around all the time, burning it off. And these guys can't do that. So, right, Cecil? Did you have a nice bath? Hmm? Breathing looks a little labored this morning. Are you okay? Hmm? Are you okay?
I hope so, because Cecil's fan club is here, led by Lisa Banerjee. But let's begin with the people who are here in our chat. Welcome to Tiki Tiki, Spirit Matter, Jam and Jamie, and Giselle Plant Based Vegan. Then we have Rosebud Atkins is here, Calvin Thurston, Lisa Banerjee, and Falcon Sue. I hope I have nobody forgotten. There's so many people already here. Welcome, Jocelyn. She just come in.
Hello, everybody. KK, you want to say hello? KK. You gonna start chattering? You were chattering up a lot yesterday. You were being a chatterbox yesterday. Yes, you were. Yeah, we're going to talk about desensitization today because I'm working so hard to do that with Solas. When you have a breeder bird, they're not the first ones to overcome fear. So we do have a movie quote today. We're all pretty bizarre. Some of us are just better at hiding it. Well, you're not bizarre. You're just odd. You're just an odd boy, Miss R.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't you? Mander.
Mander. But odd numbers are so much cooler than even numbers, so it's probably the same with birds.
Probably. Hey, big boy. He hasn't got his petting this morning. I had forgotten to put the quote. It's a bit of a pain to add them if you have to add them out here. So I knew what I wanted to put up there, but I still had to put it in. He waited for me. Usually he'll try to stop me from doing anything until he gets his petting, don't you, boy? Mm. Mm. And Jasmine's trying to enlist a little preening. That's so
And
out of
Cecil's
character
having a
for
good
her.
time. He's dancing and having a pool party.
What are you doing this
But
morning,
it
huh?
looks like springtime in where you are, like just the green weed on the floor and the blue sky.
That does, but just kind of the way it looks out here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what winter
Beautiful.
is like. Winter is like in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
Poor Rosebud fell last live stream. She fell asleep while she was listening to you and the birds. Um, she cannot remember what the movie was. She woke up and everyone was gone. Poor Rosebud.
That's because I become a hypnotist. I put people to sleep, don't I? Yeah, did I grab your tail? Oh, I'm sorry. Why would I do that? Why would I do that to the Cecil? Look out, Cecil. You ignoring the beggar there, Cecil? Hmm?
Hmm.
These guys.
Sweetie.
Pretty quiet there, you guys. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
here comes. Yeah, Amanda's back over. I still haven't had my full petting. You need that petting in the morning, don't you, kid? Yeah, I wanted to get out here a little earlier, but I was working with Solus trying to desensitize him to, if not hands immediately, to a perch in the cage added. That's a little better than hands, but not much for him. So
We have the first guess for the movie quote from Tiki Tiki, The Breakfast Club.
that was way too quick. But yes, that's what it was.
And I think Spirit Matter knew it as well, but wanted to give the others a chance to guess. Excellent, guys.
Yeah,
Congratulations, Tiki.
yeah. Oh, we have to do that movie, don't we? Let's see. Where
Yeah.
is it?
Oh.
We have a video for that now. If I can
Mhm.
find it, there it is. Oh, I think I've got an internet problem now. I'll be right back, folks.
Dawn?
Hello.
Hello, Dawn, and second Dawn.
Yeah, well, someone forgot to put on his blocker for phone calls, and somebody tried to call me, and that just screws up the whole thing. So,
Oh,
but
poor Rosebud didn't hear you read the quote, so she
no.
couldn't guess.
Okay, where did I find that now? Right.
Next time, we make it more prominent when Dawn reads the quote, Rosebud.
Trying to get. There we go. Ah, yeah, the phone calls just wipe everything out. So if I forget to put on the blocker, and I 9 times out of 10, it's some spammer trying to offer us oh, your loan is ready. I'm tired of hearing that one. I know you can't really answer one of those calls and and yell at them because it's just automated. It's just spammers doing it. But you really want to read them the riot
I
act,
think we haven't said the name yet of the movie, have we? So we
Yeah.
can still allow Rosebud to guess since she doesn't read the, or does she read the chat? She has probably a screen reader, so she knows it by now. So we might find another quote for Rosebud
Well, I'm sorry. What are you saying?
or a special question for Rosebud so she can also guess.
Hmm. Well, you'll have to come up with one. My brain is not working this morning, so or this afternoon. Ah, you're talking, KK. Well, KK has a quote.
So we allow Mr. KK to talk to us.
He's a little chatterbox, aren't you?
Telling us often about a bird named KK and his
That's right.
adventures.
You have adventures, Mr. KK Bird. Hmm.
But
So,
I'm not surprised that Babaloo goes nuts when he watches Jimbird and all the other yellow crested. I mean, they are not tritons, but they are the closest cousins to him. So he probably just loves it.
well, he certainly makes a lot of noise when they're on.
Mm.
He does quite a bit of yelling. So when it comes to um, desensitization, fear isn't actually the enemy. Um, because, hey, what are you doing down there? Fear is something that's built into us for a reason. In the wild, when fear pops up, these guys will fly away from whatever's trying to attack them. Generally, it's fear is a warning that keeps us from, keeps us alive. That's why when you see a shadow in the corner of your eye, you don't think, "Oh, somebody's bringing me a present." Usually, you look to see what fearful thing is coming your way. And that's the way it is for these guys. So So it's part of a normal system. So when you start to, when you have a problem is when fear gets stuck. Okay. So like with Solus, when he sees a hand coming up with an apple now, he's okay with it. But if he sees an empty hand, he's concerned. His empty hands actually don't provide him anything that he wants in his world. And he certainly doesn't want to be touched or to touch one. So at this point, it's no longer a situation, right? It's not situational. It's now generalized, which means that that fear is just there, regardless of whether or not something is actually a danger. So it's not about the moment; it's about every moment. Every moment there's a hand in the environment, it's something to be afraid of, and that's not the way fear is supposed to work. So we have to work to change that. Now, this one here, I think, was desperately afraid of being left alone, and I don't think he feels that anymore. He's gained a measure of control over his world, and mine. When he cries because he has chewed the last piece of wood in his cage, which doesn't take him long, then I bring him another couple of toys, and then he, calls me another 20 minutes later. He's chewed those up. So his control is he knows that he can sit there and play and chew all the toys up, and when there's no more wood, he can call me and I'll bring him more. So he's overcome that. He obviously felt good with the last guy who had him, and then that guy just disappeared out of his life. He didn't know what happened to him, so you know, can't explain to him that he died. So that's one of the reasons he's territorial around me, is he still has a certain generalized fear about being left alone, don't you, big boy? Hmm? Don't you? Yeah. Hi there, KK. You have something else to say, Mr. KK?
Maybe he can spill the tea about solas because Rosebud is interested in news about solas.
Yeah, he's a work in progress. He's not doing that great. When you get moved from one place to another, um, it's not easy on him, on any bird. I mean, there's exceptions. Pippa accepted being with me almost instantly. So did some of the other birds, but many of them they just reject the idea that now they're somewhere else. He's in a bigger cage. He's happy about that. He's happy that he can control me to bring him bananas and apples, which he likes. Um, but as far as coming out of the cage, he can't do that because he can't just run around the place like a crazy bird. So, you know, you're left with only a couple of options: the slow grinding process to get him out of the cage, the desensitization process, which we'll talk about, and the other one is the flooding process, which we don't want to do. But if he becomes intractable to the idea of coming out of that cage on a hand or a perch, then and I've tried everything. Well, then we go to the second part of the plan, which is toss a towel around him, take him out to the aviary, get him used to being out here, bring out another bird, get the two used to each other, bring out another bird, that kind of thing. Do this at the end of the day when we're ready to be closing up, so that the other birds don't get left out of the situation. Then towel him and put him back in his cage. I don't want to do that, but if it comes to it, I will. You have to have that secondary plan so that you know that if he doesn't respond, and he was a breeder bird, some don't. Some won't respond to it. I don't care honestly if he comes out on my hand or if he comes out on a perch, but he has to come out under direction. And now, if he's on a perch, I can't take him outside like that. So that means that at that point I have to sit him somewhere, probably towel him and take him out to take him outside. Or I have to work with him outside to get him on my hand. I've seen what he does when you present a hand, though. He runs. I mean, if he thinks that you're going to try to touch him, he is gone. So, usually these birds didn't start out fearful. It was a trauma somewhere along the line that caused it. Um, Now I know you're only fearful I'm not going to pet you, right? That's it. Actually, he had a lot of fear. Making this aviary larger seems to have helped him quite a bit. He has more spaces to go to now, and he's just a calmer bird. Aren't you, big boy? Hmm? Even though you got chased by sugar yesterday. Yeah. So I understand that he went through a fire and that the mate that he had died in the fire. I know that happened to him. So that's a trauma that affected him, but I doubt that's why he's afraid of hands. It's just typical of birds that have been used as breeder birds because they don't take birds that they plan to breed and handle them. They leave them unhandled because birds that have been handled aren't good about laying eggs and letting them, letting the eggs sit there for any period of time. So most birds will break their eggs. So. So the probable reason he does not step up is because he was never hand trained. I'm not fond of hand training. I mean, they did it in California where they at a university they did a study, and some of the birds were hand raised like the breeders do. Some were raised by their parents and not touched by humans, and some were held by humans for a total of about 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week. And the ones that did best were the ones that were raised by their parents but held 20 minutes a day. The ones who were raised as they are in captivity had problems like feather destructive behavior, mutilation, phobias, things like that. So they weren't birds in the true sense of the word, where the ones who were only handled for 20 minutes a day did well. You could handle them, and they also acted like birds. So you're not going to force the fear out, all right? That doesn't work. What we do you're teaching their nervous system that the hands in this case are safe. In his case, he's never been taught that, so it's not like you're teaching that it's safe again, but rather that it is safe to let hands touch you. So you're going to be pairing that with something else, like pairing it with an apple, a piece of apple, pairing it with a piece of banana, pairing it with things that he wants so that he starts to associate the hands with things that he wants. I'd like to have him associate that with coming out because I can tell he wants to come out. He knows the birds are going outside. He can hear them because we do have a screen on the window that he can hear sometimes. Not today. It depends on the temperature, but um, so he can hear us out here, and he can hear the birds, and you can hear him crying to come out. But as soon as you approach him with a hand, he runs away. So unless it has something he wants, that's a good sign. If it has an apple or I'm holding a bit of banana, then yeah, then he'll come. He will take it out of my hand and actually start eating it now. That's a big move though, because from the first day he wouldn't do that. I couldn't even get him to take an apple out of my hand. Now he takes the apple or he takes the banana, and he used to take it and sit and wait for me to leave. Now he actually will eat it in my presence. So I mean, this is all progress, but you know, Desensitizing a bird that has had trauma, we know the fire was a big trauma for him, and who hasn't been trained or desensitized to hands from the beginning isn't easy. So there there's a guy, I won't say what he called himself, but um I had this explained to me by somebody who was in a bird club, that they invited this guy out who was going around the country, and he's supposed to be some kind of a bird expert. And the people were bringing their birds to him, and there was a blue and gold macaw that wouldn't let anyone hold it. So what he did is he put on a glove, one of these birding gloves that they birds can't bite through, and then he just grabbed the bird out of the cage. That's called flooding. The bird was scared to death, okay? And while the bird did come out of the cage and and it dealt with the fact it had been plucked out of the cage by a glove, that is something we don't want to do. You don't want to frighten the bird. You don't want to flood them with an instant pull like that. It would have been better if you just toweled the bird and brought it out. Because at least in a towel there is a certain amount of security. Their eyes are covered, they're not. But to grab them and yank them out of a cage, and no one in the audience did anything. And I asked this person about it. Didn't anyone get up and say anything? Or, oh no, this is typical human behavior too. It's the behavior of just, well, what? Well, I'm just one person. Well, I would have stood up and I would have walked on stage and said, "You put the bird back in the cage, and you leave the stage now. If you don't leave the stage, they'll carry you out." you know because I would not allow someone to treat my bird that way about or anyone else's bird that way. But so you don't want to flood them with like grab them out and just force them into a situation. Um, Now, if they have to have surgery or something, then you'll have to towel them and get them out of that cage one way or another. We've got an appointment coming up next month for him to get his blood work done, and if he has not adapted, he will have to be toweled. But that's medically necessary, and you just do it as gently as you can. But you don't want to try to flood them with you know intensely put them in a situation that they don't want to be in. It's usually not going to turn out well. So it's not something that they can just get over. That is not a perch. Yeah, it is now. Okay, that's your perch. That's actually a holder for the phone, and as you can tell, he's turned it into a perch. He bent it over, and then now he stands on it. You like being allowed that measure of control of your universe, you can make yourself a perch. So you don't want to put a bird into a terrifying situation. And unfortunately, he is terrified of hands. If you even accidentally touch a toe, he is out of there like a gunshot. He's that terrified of hands that if you touch his toe, he's gone. It happened once, and I've not seen a bird run that fast. I mean, he looked like Witch Hazel from the old cartoons. Um, I just bumped up against his toe when I was in there doing something, and he was gone. He didn't attack; he just ran. He was horrified. So, so now what I'm doing is slowly bringing both hands up when I'm offering him his fruit, so that he will take the fruit and he's not bothered by the second hand. I'm eventually going to start moving one hand down towards his toes. And in order for him to get his fruit, my finger will have to be just a centimeter away from his toe. That's And eventually I might be able to touch it. I mean, I say might. This could happen in a week. It could happen in 6 months. You don't know. But eventually he will allow his toe to be touched in order to get a piece of fruit. So that's the beginning, isn't it? But there's steps to get there. He has to see the hand close to his toes and take the fruit. That's the way it goes. And unfortunately, he has learned to be helpless in this situation. He has a fear of hands, and he is going to he's going to act in a way to get out of that fear every time he sees any hands coming his way. So that's what desensitization is about. You are going to make it so that he doesn't have that fear. He does not deal with it all the time, that it's not a generalized fear. So, what are you doing down there? What are you doing? Ah! What do you see, Cecil? Ah!
Good boy, good bird, KK.
You're a good bird, aren't you?
Yeah, he just said good boy and then good bird. Maybe a little in birdie gibberish, but one could understand. Good, sweetie boy?
So you have to try to work to find out what the smallest amount of, approaching his foot that his nervous system can tolerate without panicking. All right. So right now, if he's listening to me read to him, so when I try to read to him every day, so when I'm reading to him, he will come over there, and I can take my fingers and get close to his toes. I've worked that out. I just can't touch them. So, so I've gotten that far with him. So he doesn't panic when he sees a hand near his toes when he's on the other side of the cage. But And what you try to do is get to the point where you can keep your hand close to his toes and he doesn't panic, and you can stay there for a lengthy period of time. I've got it down to now about 10 seconds, and it doesn't seem to panic him at all. So then if he starts fidgeting at all or he gives any signs, I pull my hand away. Slowly, not quickly. I don't push. This is this is the problem. We tend to want to rush. We want everything instantly. Like the lady who called me up recently. Oh, do you have any cockatoos for adoption? I said, we don't do that. And you're looking for a cockatoo, and I said, have you had any before? No. And I went through the list, and she just wanted a cockatoo. She couldn't give me any good reasons. She didn't know anything about them, but she wanted to have one. You know. So, have you thought about a polar bear? You know, or maybe a koala or something. I mean, animals you don't really understand. But it's important not to rush. I didn't with KK, and now he's pretty calm around the pink birds. He used to go right after him, and the one who started him on that routine was Mander, because Mander is tremendously good at, or he used to be, I'm afraid I'm going to run away. And as soon as you ran, it drew his attention, and he would go after him. So. But now Jasmine gets down on the ground here and does her runaround. So all over the place, and he just watches her. He doesn't do anything. That's right. You're a good boy. The KK's a good bird. KK's a good boy. So you have to take your human impatient nature and you have to push it aside. So progress is going to happen under the fear line. They're going to be afraid, and you have to work under that line. It's like kind of crawling under barbed wire. Mander's not as fearful as he used to be, and it's taken a long time with him. So, and he was abducted once, so he's hey, 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 that's my shoe. No, not the shoe. Who can't eat my shoe? Come on, come on. I'm not gonna eat my shoe, silly. My foot's in there. My foot's in that shoe. It is. Now, slow is going to work, even though it feels like nothing is happening. Sometimes it does. When I'm working with Solas, it is such a slow process. Sometimes it feels like nothing is working. I was reading to him yesterday, and usually he'll come down, have the sound turned off on the TV. But I had the Australian birds on the screen, and he was watching that, and he didn't come down until I was towards the end of my reading, and then he came down and sat next to me. So then I did the deal where while I was reading, I took my hand and slowly moved it a little closer to his feet and sat there with my hand like this, with it close to his toe. And he listened for about 5 minutes, and then I was done. So I just packed up, and I told him I loved him and all that, and I love you. I've been Mr. Solas. He's still getting used to his name too, but he reacts to that name now, so it'll fit. I wanted to desensitize him because the old name has a whole bunch of negativity with it. So if you're doing it right, desensitization, it looks like nothing is happening. That's a tough one for humans. We kind of want to see instant, especially in this culture. Everybody's about instant gratification. I want it and I want it now, right? But done right, desensitization kind of looks like nothing is happening here. But you can see the end results. I mean, we have Mr. Mander sitting here. For a Moluccan, he's pretty close to the other Moluccans. And he used to have a problem with that because they chased him. They have stopped chasing him so much. Once in a while, it still happens, but so if you're looking for that movie moment transformation where, the prince gets the sleeping beauty at the end, it's just not the way it works. Oh, he's off and about. I've been working with Bob, and now he gets to come out here. I should take in all the male umbrellas, because I bring out Lorelei at the same time. I left Snowball in here yesterday, and Snowball did his voyeur thing, but it was okay. He didn't go beyond the boundaries of propriety, so but he kept following Lorelei around from a distance, and she didn't seem to be too bothered by it. Got a cup? You want a donation or what? You dropped your cup. That was it? That was a pretty short playtime. Did you want? No, you want to stay on my foot. Okay, just don't chew on the shoe. That's all I ask. Don't chew on the shoe or the ankle. Yeah, I know. I can't keep my leg like that, though. Mostly, what's happening is the is under your radar. You know, their heart rate stays lower, breath breath rate stays lower, and steady. The bird notices the stimulus and doesn't react, and the body learns that they survived, and nothing bad followed. So I hope that gives you an overview of desensitization. There's a lot to it, but that's the basics of it. So sugar. Another thing I had to desensitize them to is I have 7 birds that have to get injections every 3 days. So I had to desensitize them to the whole process of getting an injection. That's fun. It's not something that you think of when you're planning on and having a bird sanctuary. Oh, someday I'm going to have to give 70 injections a month. That's not something that usually crosses your mind. So you have to desensitize yourself to it too. Learn everything you can to make sure you do it right. And then, practice on an orange or a cantaloupe or something so that you feel comfortable. And then work with moving the feathers out of the way and feeling the actual skin where it has to go in, the spot on every bird. That's all part of the desensitization process. That's the learning process, but it's desensitization for the human too. So, because trust me, it's not something I wanted to do. I'm not interested in giving injections every day, but I have to. So, sugar. Are we back, Mander, for more? Okay. All right.
Oh, Lisa just reports that her parrot Rico has a new hobby. While she's showering, he likes to fly on top of the shower rod and starting and hooking the curtains.
Yeah. Funny the things they'll come up with to do.
Mm. They're
I was
always so helpful.
Bob loves a public shower. He loves to get in there and shower
Mhm.
with you. So
Yep, there's this really cool video.
with his tail end, it is convenient to do that, but
Mhm.
I don't think many people would have the courage to shower with Bob because he has that attitude that you think, what's he going to do to me? But he just likes to shower. He'll start bouncing up and down and making these funny little squawking sounds. But oops, I got you. I'm sorry, I had to turn just a little bit. Well, I know I bothered you. I know. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. No, no. Hmm. What are you going to stand on my arm again? Huh? You silly. So when you're working with these guys and you're trying to desensitize them to whatever they are afraid of, you're basically rewriting their idea of safety. So you think about something you're afraid of. If you're afraid of spiders, or you're afraid of, that's a good one to use. You're afraid of spiders, or you're afraid of snakes. Well, how are you going to get desensitized? Are we going to desensitize you by putting a tarantula in your hands? Probably not. But putting a tarantula in an aquarium close to you where you're sure it can't get out, and then you watch other people interact with the tarantula, because most tarantulas are not poisonous, not at least not to us. Um, I should say venomous. Um, but think about that. What you're afraid of, and how would somebody desensitize you from that fear? And if you look at it, you can see where it's kind of a long process, especially if they couldn't speak English to you. All right. You're probably not going to become desensitized to snakes by having one dropped in your living room. So it's a good thing to ponder. Ponder, how would I deal with my own fears? I mean, how would somebody train me not to be afraid of tarantula, or not to be afraid of a non-poisonous snake? Because a non-poisonous snake really isn't anything to be afraid of. But if you're afraid of snakes, then you generalized it to all snakes. I'm not afraid of rattlesnakes, but I'm not stupid. I don't go pick them up. you know, um, they serve a purpose in the environment. I don't want them around these birds, but obviously they could slither in, and that wouldn't be good. But these birds are too busy for a rattlesnake to eat, so they're not going to eat them. So not going to be too enticing to them. Actually, what they would probably do in our environment is get rid of the rodents that could be a problem. So rodents will attack a caged bird. So yes, I know you have your perch over there. You like your perch? It's your own perch. You made it.
Mm. Look how proud he is. Creator of a perch.
Yeah, he is. He's got his own little perch he created. Yeah.
Mm.
Hard to pet him there though, because if you put any pressure, then the perch bends down. So he goes over there. He's pretty much sitting on his own. I can't pet him without being extremely careful, or that whole thing will just
Mm.
bend down, which it's designed to do. So something to think about. How are you going to deal with that fear? I see you up there. You're not fooling me. No, you're not.
Mander. Manda and Solas, they bond a little bit. They spin together. That's what I have heard.
Yeah, they do. Oh, you should have seen them when I had Jim Hook with his birds in Australia. Good grief, they were both doing the spinning thing. And they were both talking,
Oh my.
which is funny because they don't really interact much. There is a little bit once in a while, but typical Moluccans, they don't pay a lot of attention to each other.
Yeah, that's the way how Moluccans interact. It to us it looks like they do not.
It's like that one shirt I made out on Etsy. It's social distancing, and it has three Moluccans on it, and they're all distanced from each other. And
Mm.
that's the way they are.
Yeah, Moluccans are a little bit different. But they are super, super cute.
Yeah, they are. Well, I hear Solus knows how to preen other birds, but I don't know when we're going to see that. I'm introducing a perch idea in his cage now too. So he's getting a little. He's not afraid of it unless it gets too close to him. But I just made a wooden perch and I put it in there, and now it's sitting by his cage, so he gets to see it all the time. And I'm going to desensitize him to the perch, and I might get him up on a wooden perch before I'm able to get him on my hands. Might be easier to do that. He's used to sitting on perches, so. But the fact that a hand is holding it, yeah,
Um, is Sola speaking any English so far?
not a word.
Um, was there anything on his sheet they said he can say in English?
Mm-mm. He just understands the cue, go home. It means go back to his cage.
Mhm.
But I mean,
Okay,
when you
Giselle.
hmm?
He looks like he is not that talkative so far, at least not in English. But
Nope.
that's the thing with Moluccans, it's 50-50 in our experience so far. I mean, Peaches was a prolific talker, and Jasmine can be a prolific talker, but she only does it in, I don't know, decades.
When she's excited by new people, mostly.
Yep.
Uh, Sometimes just when she's excited. She told me she loved me one day. Um, but and she sounds just like a human. You
Mm.
couldn't tell it was a parrot. In no way.
I think
Yes.
Manda can say hello and hi and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he can.
And Sugar can say hi.
That's the only thing I've ever heard her say is
Yep.
hi.
So they Moluccans are not quite completely not talkative, but it's also not like they are the super chatterboxes.
Nope. No, around here that's Snowball and KK.
Mm-hmm. Lucy sometimes pretty birding.
She does, yeah, Lucy does the pretty bird. That's all she says, though. And it doesn't mean pretty bird, it means I want.
Yep.
So,
And Babalu is having a new variation of saying Bob. He's not saying Bob, he's saying Bob. No, wait, Don can do it for better.
Bob. He sounds like
Yeah.
like an old Volkswagen Beetle that the
Bob.
battery's dying on. Bob.
I think I've heard it yesterday or in one of our last talks in the background, and I just could not stop laughing.
Well, he's doing pretty good out here now with a small group. As long as I keep him away from KK, KK obviously is still afraid of being left alone, and Bob doesn't like any bird that sits around me. He doesn't like birds to just like sit near me. So And that's what KK does, a lot of that. So that causes an issue. But he's been doing fine. I give him about an hour out here with the other birds, and then I take them in, and I bring out Pippa. She's the one I think bit this one's tongue. And his tongue is fine. I got him on Baytril right away. The doctor got me a injectable Baytril. So I gave him injections of Baytril for 7 days. And it all healed up. You can't even tell he ever had a mangled tongue, but it got pretty mangled. Bob has he acts terribly strong and like he's such a tough guy, but boy, if he gets in a situation, he lashes out because he's really afraid. He's afraid he's going to get hurt. Where the rest of the birds now, they're not really playing that game. They're just posturing. But with Bob, he's actually afraid. And I think it's because, he was mistreated by people. I mean, he was rehomed 8 times in the first 11 years of his life. So I think that's what it comes down to. But he's truly afraid somebody's going to, who knows what they did to him. I don't know what that guy did who left him in an office for an hour and came back and found he tore the whole office up. Of course he did. I mean, I can't believe they didn't tell that guy off. When he brought Bob back, I would have told him off. But how dare you leave a bird in a dangerous place like that? He could have started a
Mm.
fire, anything. But, they weren't checking these people out to see how sane they were.
Yeah. Poor Bob.
Yeah, he's got real abandonment issues. So,
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, people screwed him up, especially in the time that was so important, like in his young years. And, well,
I have to make a point to tell him every morning that Bob, I love you, Bob. And he kind of ignores me like he doesn't believe me in the morning. So, but you have to make that extra effort with him, and I have to give him
mm,
a few more treats. Pay attention to him when I'm working with other birds.
I also say to my budgies every morning how much I love them. And they say
Mm.
to each other, that's really funny. So when you see how their morning starts, like basically after getting up and doing their first stretch, then they sit together on a perch and start to socialize and ensure each other that they still love each other.
Yeah, with him too, it's important to tell him, Bob's a good bird, Bob's a good boy. And if you keep saying it to him, he'll eventually throw his crest up and look all proud of himself. That's what you want to see.
Mm.
So, and I am proud of him. He does really well for a bird that's been through everything he's been through.
So that's the thing. I mean, he's suffering from a prolapse, and then it's certainly not easy to be a Triton in captivity.
Well, folks, it looks like I just checked my watch. It looks
Mm.
like we're at that point, guys. Thanks for being here, and you got to see Cecil with his spa day, right, Cecil? So I hope everybody sleeps with a spider or a snake tonight, so they can desensitize themselves. No, that doesn't work, right? We can't do it that way. That's not how we desensitize, right, Mander? You want to say goodbye, Mander? He says I don't talk. Used to talk.
Mm. Well, at least he started back with his jungle sounds, so
Yep, he does those again.
he might start talking a little bit again.
Part of
One
it
never
too is
knows.
they can get if they can get their point across without talking, they do. So, I mean,
Certainly.
they can feather position, eyes. I mean, I read all that pretty well, so I know what's going
Mm.
on, so I don't have to hear talking. And KK is a good boy. He talks a lot, don't you, boy? Can you say goodbye?
Mhm.
Bob were out here, he
Oh,
could say
Falcons
goodbye.
sleeps with two alpaca plushies. Oh, that's a good choice.
Come
No
here.
spiders. Say, Giselle and Tiki Tiki.
I actually, one quick story. I was a docent for a nature reserve for a while, and I learned to overcome my fear of spiders there. And one day I was taking like three Boy Scouts and their mothers, walking them through the nature reserve, and there's this one road through there, and there was a tarantula crossing the road, and I told the mother and kid to stand back. I said, "Is this a dangerous situation?" So I got over there and I put my hand down and I got the spider on my hand and I put it up on the other side of the road, the direction it was going. And I said, yeah, because once in a while a vehicle does come down this, you know, mostly construction vehicle. You know, they come down this road and it could have run over the spider. You know, so get the idea. But I would never have done that prior to the training I had to be a docent. So I learned that you know that they're not a problem. So. And it wasn't easy. It did take some time. It's a 60-hour class. So, and you need to, he wants me to pet him. So I'm going to pet him and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Thank you very much for being here and we're out. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you for the birds. So, bye, everybody.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
The Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a nonprofit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.